So this is a bit from last night. We're just going to have a look round the shed while it's empty before the young farmers arrive. Really touch on the massive Quadtrac of David's, the 540, with a very shiny Vardestad on the back. A Bio Drill 360 on the front of it. It's a top down. Look how pristine that is. And then we've got the van from TH White's, all lit up. Look at this, eh? This is fancy, isn't it? And as you've seen, David's McDon header. It's an absolute beast on the twin steering trailer. So the combine's all lit up. He's made a bit of an event to this, really. It looks really good. I like that, the oil barrels, so that people don't trip over the rams. Got to think about safety here. And then we've got the front of the combine all lit up. I mean, we didn't get anything like this when we were at Young Farmers. And this is a nice touch, this, how the machinery dealer, TH White, are helping out with the Young Farmers, and David's providing the venue, and they're working together to try and just get a bit more knowledge to Young Farmers clubs, and giving them something to actually think about and look into, which I think's great. And I think if more farmers were a bit more like David, and if more machinery dealers had worked with farmers, we could get more events like this. You know what? If there are other groups that are doing this sort of thing, and they do want someone like myself or some other YouTuber that's local to you, maybe, or got a connection with, to come along, I'm sure they'd come and help out, because getting people into agriculture is one of the things that I think is really important, because I think as an industry we really struggle to get really good staff. So events like this and groups like the Young Farmers really get people who are interested in farming to maybe follow that interest a bit further than they would if these groups and these events weren't put on. So I think it's really is key, and I'm very much for supporting it. So yeah, if you're thinking about putting an event on like this, and you're gonna be local to us, then please get in contact, and I'll try my best to get there, or if not, I can possibly put you in contact with somebody who might be local. I don't know, but that's just what I want to say. I think it's brilliant that people are doing this sort of thing. So we've got back to David's yard, and the Young Farmers are arriving. It's getting busy in here. We've got Richard here from Matter.
That's it. That's me.
There we go.
Young farmer from the local area.
Back in the day. So we just had a talk from TH White's, and they're going to go through now the combine. Looking at the header first, doing a bit of talk on this, and how they maintain it and how it runs, and pros and cons. David's here with the lighting equipment.
Yeah, props.
It's looking good, lit up like that.
How's that break down to needle?
The function of this is pretty simple. It is just elevate all the front from the header into the combine. It does pitch the header left and right and forward and back, but now we've got the map done, it floats on the springs. Generally it doesn't have to move, it's just putting on the steel. This basically top of the chain. That actually, having this drum and this radial motion has allowed us to fit a conventional stone trap, because the direction of the travel of this naturally knocks stones down out of the crop that you're taking into the combine, which is a big improvement. and it forces the feed of the crop into the rotors. So whereas they were having to pull it in before, this is actually basically force feeding the machine. It's also on the newer machine which is about to be released, they've actually used the rotor as a drive shaft for the front of the combine. So the rotor itself will be transferring the drive out of itself into this, so the speeds will permanently be matched. Whatever speed you have the rotors, this feed roller will be matched in speed, so there'll be no, well, it'll feed a lot nicer and there won't be any straw breakage from change in direction or travel or speed, which is a big problem with combines. So it lifts everything that's come out of that machine into the air, and again only the heavy stuff lands, so all the muck should go straight out the back. Then enters into the sieve section, which is set from the cab as to how large you want the section. So I guess different grain, smaller seeds, smaller holes. Filters the grain through the top sieve, where you'll essentially keep anything out that you don't want in there, and grain in there will either be clean or dirty. So if it's clean, it can go straight in the shed, go into the tank, to go in the trailer. Or if it's not thrashed properly, maybe you've got 2 or 3 grains together that have just snapped off and fell through, that will then be directed, rather than going in the tank, go into what we call a rethrasher, or your returning system. It then smashes it again to make it clean, and chucks it back onto the grain pan for another go. The straw then at the point, after it's left the rotor, needs to discharge beater, thrown again through the air, so any last few grains will come into the sieve, and then we either swap it up through a baler or send it through the chopper. The reason we've took it all apart is because, as Dave said earlier, it's just going into its 7th season. So we've basically dismantled this machine to a point where we can turn everything by hand to check if there's a noise and bearing. The chains, for example, when a chain's new with a new sprocket, see all these pins driving load a little bit. Every tooth that touches the chain will be driven by a new chain because it's the same size. As a chain wears, the distance between the pins, if you like, on the chain will get larger. So you end up only touching it 2 places on the sprocket, which will then wear the sprocket. The reason we're doing it essentially is to not have anything go wrong in the summer. That's our main aim, is to catch everything early in the winter. And then we won't see any breakdowns, all being well, all unavoidable breakdowns should be stopped basically by doing what we've done.
So David's now getting the Quadtrac bonnet up, so we can have a look at the maintenance on this. He's going to give us a bit of a talk on that.
How we started and how we got to where we are today. My father, John Jones, unfortunately my dad, he lost his father when he was very young. He was only 7 years old, and with that happening, unfortunately they were thrown out of their tenanted farm where my father grew up. So you know, had a tough start, and my father got that determination to take that forward. He started milking cows. He rode a push bike to the, I think the farm was 18 miles away. Rode a push bike either end of the week to go and milk cows. And then progressed from there to work on an arable farm. And then when he was around early 20s, he borrowed £800 off my uncle and bought a little massey digger. And that was the start of when my father got into his own business, small business, with a little massey digger. And within that year, he paid my uncle back and bought the digger himself. And then he started to progress. He went on to construction sites with it, but realised he wasn't trained or educated to do it. So he got through off a few construction sites, which gave him the determination to start doing farm maintenance and ditching and drainage. So that's how my dad started. He progressed then. Keep everything cool. You can't expect to make a lot of horsepower without creating a lot of heat. So all the radiators, all those get daily inspected, and if they need it, they're blown down. But with a machine like this, generally every few weeks, we can literally blow them through. If you start clean, they'll stay clean. But obviously your engine oil levels to check daily. You know, tractor like this, for the sake of 5-10 minutes to check the basic things. You know, who wants to be putting a £40,000 engine in a machine like this for the sake of not checking oil? You know, no excuse. So while you've got the bonnet up, you're looking. Always keep looking. If you notice something, do something about it. Because if something's wrong, you get an oil leak, sets onto the turbo, lights it very quickly, the tractor's burnt out, end of. So the first thing we did when I went out cultivating there, he took me out with a spade, we dug a soil profile hole this sort of deep, and he started to show me what was happening with the soil. We did that in a tractor mark, a tram line, and also in a combine mark. And by doing that, straight away you start to see whether you've got signs of compaction, what state the soil's in, is there any organic matter there, all those type of things that today all seems like a new thing, but it's always been the same. We're dealing with dirt, and it's how you deal with it. And so David taught me with the spade, you know, where do most of you decide how deep you're going to set a machine? What do you go on the fact of how it was set the year before? How somebody told you how deep to go? How do you know how deep to set this machine in the ground? Well, that will tell you that once you start to learn. And the magic with the spade, if there's compaction, say down at 5 or 6 inches from, like this year, we've had over 1 metre of rain. That weight of rain will consolidate that soil and knock the life out of it. So for us last autumn, with that very different year to the year before, with a lot of rain during harvest, I took the spade into some barley stubbles, had to dig round in various places, and started to get a gist of how deep the combine had marked the ground. And back then in July, when we had those heavy showers, even with the track machine, we were making 5 inches of consolidation. We've got to remove that. If we leave it, that's yield gone. Really important to remove that. We don't need to pull this more deep than we should, just because we've got a big tractor on the front. It's all about efficiency and time. So then, once we've read if there's compaction at 5 inches, with some firmness there, we'll generally run the machine about 2 inches below it. So down to about 7 inches deep. So then you're moving underneath those compacted areas and busting it back out. And that simple technique saved me hundreds of thousands of pounds, literally, over the years. In time, fuel use, wear on the machine, all those variables.
So what will it come out like then when you shovel it, David? Will it like be stuck together, like lumped up?
If we've had a lot of rain and the ground's tacky,
yep.
Obviously if you squeeze, like certainly in clays, if you squeeze it and it holds tacky,
yep.
You know, almost like a clay sausage.
Yep.
You know, that's telling you, well, it's probably just too wet to actually be working it. But actually, if it breaks, comes out of the ground in clumps and in layers, that's telling you where that compaction is.
Right.
And a guy called Philip Wright, who's easily found, he's done an awful lot over the years on these soil structure examples and what to be looking at. But once you start to do it, you start to see and learn for yourself.
Notice it, yeah.
But basically, if you take the digger out in the field and dig a hole,
Yep.
if the top digs easily, and then you get down into a bit more clay, if that starts to peel out, drop out the bucket easily, it's in good condition. If that's slabbed, it's hard, it's a job to break through, then it needs some mechanical metal through that to correct.
Yeah.
And you know, I get this, you know, there's a lot of talk, you know, the last 15, 20 years about obviously reduced tillage, which is what I call it. I don't call it min till, because we're not necessarily doing very shallow at times. We can do, but a lot of the time we do what that field needs. So by monitoring field or by block, then we can bring that into the system.
Very good.
And over time that helps immensely. And this year, yeah, we've all had problems establishing crops. we got within about 80 acres of finishing planting our wheat, which was, considering the amount we have, we're quite happy with that. We've got around 25, 30 acres of damage from that wet October, just where rains ran off banks and different bits. A few patches in a bit of rape, same thing, a few patches in some wheat. But on the whole, for our acreage, the barley's all wall to wall. The rape we've got on some marl banks, but actually they are small areas, and we've got a few patches in the wheat. But on the whole, we haven't damaged any ground, and that's the big difference.
Yeah.
So going into, hopefully it dries up in the next few weeks. I'll be heading out with this, with Richard and Peter. We'll be looking at the ground, but we won't be going on. We've got some very mixed soil types. We won't be going. We've got to be patient.
Holding
no
off.
time's ticking on, but if we go on it too soon, we'll ruin it. And that's the thing about having the Quadtrac. People go, you can go any time, but are we going to do any good?
Yeah.
So that's going to be really important.
This is the thumbnail.
You do a wave. I'll go wave business. So it's starting to dwindle down now, and everyone's going back. But are you going to put the combine back together tomorrow?
Someone else can do that. Someone else should do a better job.
Yeah. Some bits. These guys are leaving. We'll put the combine back later. I've heard you two, hey, getting on at me using 200 horsepower for a mill.
Yeah, what can take 60?
It's been a good evening though, thank you very much for helping set it up and cleaning everywhere and getting it all clean. It is always clean, isn't it? We were walking around with leaf blowers earlier, just tidying job up, making the right job.
I just didn't like being tripped up, Joe, when it rushed behind us when we were walking.
Yeah.
That would be.
We had mucky feet, didn't we? We had to...
I wonder why they were chasing us.
And these guys here, thank you very much for Vardasan as well, for coming in and helping. And these two as well.
Thank you.
And you will put the combine back for him, won't you?
Yeah.
Promise. Be back in well, tomorrow or just before harvest?
Yeah. Hopefully tomorrow, so yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks. And thanks to the main man here, David.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
We had a good time. It's been really good to see how the younger ones react and engage, and they were listening, weren't they?
Yeah, they were listening, yeah.
I appreciate that, and look forward to seeing what happens next.
Yeah. Should be a lot of futures in the room, weren't there?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of bright futures. So thanks everyone for watching. Press like, subscribe, and everyone's got a wave now, by the way.
Business.
I thought you weren't going to wave then, Nick. See you, bye.